Hey everyone, I'm Michael,
And I'm Avy.
and welcome to another episode of the Pricing Guys. So today, we're going to talk about something really interesting. I read an article,
Mhm.
and it talked about the price sensitivity of different generations and how companies out there really need to start thinking about the shifting dynamic, because a bunch of research came out that said Gen Z and millennials more price sensitive than their counterparts on the previous generations. And he was talking about how they went out and they asked, what is the most important purchase decision? And price was number one, more so with Gen Z than millennials, but, far above some of the other generations. And, I read this, I didn't think twice about it. And walking through the office actually earlier today, and someone's showing off their new water bottle. And reusable water bottle. And
We've got cups that they can use in there.
they got cups. Yeah, we have glasses. Yep.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, you reusable water bottle. And they're showing me like, oh, it does this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of bold claims. And I was like, okay, water bottle. And then I saw the price of the water bottle. Guess how much this person paid for this water bottle?
$40.
So it was on sale. So it was normally $150 down to $125
I got to ask you,
for a water bottle.
what are these features that this water bottle does? Your taxes?
It's like, it's funny because it was like, oh, it's got like some blue light, and then it cleans your water or something. Like it can clean your water. And I was thinking to myself, like, when was the last time you ever drank a cup of water that came from the tap, or like even ours that has a filter on it, and you were like, I got sick from this water? Like, how where does that value kind of come from? And it made me think back to the research, because I was like, everyone's telling me that these people are, the Gen Zs and the millennials are super price sensitive. And I'm like, man, am I just an old guy like thinking it's crazy spending $125 on a water bottle? Like, I'm the one who's price sensitive in this game. I think it's crazy.
It's interesting, and the funny thing is that they reference that it's a $150 water bottle, and they got it for $25 off.
Yep.
At $125.
Now the study did also say that the demographic, the Gen Z and millennial, they love discounts, right? So maybe that was the driver of the purchase.
Intuitively, it makes sense that the younger generations are more price sensitive because they're digital first, right? They go out.
Well, they have less money too.
Yeah, less money, but they can compare prices much easier than other generations, right? Like, it's what they've grown up with. They're great at researching it. Plus, we know they're less brand loyal, right? And they're willing to move much more easily to different brands.
But this is where I kind of call a little bit of BS on the research that I read, because the way I think about it is, I don't think that the generational shift is to more price sensitive. I think it's to price sensitivity for different things, right? And I think to like my parents, who like they will go to like 4 grocery stores because they like want to get the best deal. And like I think to myself, like, oh, they're very price sensitive when they think about like groceries and things like that. But I look around and like, how many people are ordering Uber Eats and how much are they spending on that? And it's the same thing. You're kind of buying food, but I think the thing that they're willing to, they might be price sensitive to certain things, but they're willing to trade off a lot of price for factors like convenience, right? Hey, if you can get the food on my doorstep, right? But maybe some of the older generations, like, and I'm not sure if we're grouping ourselves in there, but we're probably super price sensitive to like that food aspect, because like, we would never get food like, we would get like pizza. We would get pizza like once a month, and we would always go pick it up. We would never get it delivered. Like, it's crazy.
It's what rich people do.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting dichotomy, because I think what you're right about talking about various segments or categories. So, for example, I think like younger generations, and it's proven, they spend a greater proportion of their income on like entertainment, travel, fashion, and apparel. So they're spending more there, and they're actually increasing their spending habits there. I'm sure how they shop, they're looking for great deals and whatnot, and they're going digital first, but they would be less price sensitive in some of these categories than we would see them in other categories. For example, like we know consumption on those younger generations is going down for spirits and beer, right?
100%.
So, decreasing your price because you see this generational shift, it's not going to drive a bunch more consumption.
And like I think to the things of like, less and less people are driving cars nowadays, especially younger generations. So yeah, they might be price sensitive to the purchase of like a vehicle, but when it comes to like Uber Eats, where your food's coming in a vehicle and that experience and the convenience, like they're probably not price sensitive to that.
See, that's a really interesting dynamic that you bring up because, like, kind of old school, it was stop paying rent, make this big purchase, buy a house, and then you don't have to pay again, right? You're kind of building equity in something. Whereas kind of new school is we have all like these streaming and subscription services, and it's gotten much more to very small out of pockets that continue to hit you, whether we're talking B2C or B2B, and there's these continual payments, but it's not kind of these big balloons. I think some of that is a function of, there is a element of just how much people are making too, right? And how much what's their wallet.
But I think the other thing is you have to remember that this is really the first generation that like SaaS, like the concept of SaaS or subscription model, it's been around for like their whole lives. Mm-hmm. When you and I were growing up, like you didn't have Netflix, you didn't have the subscription type model, right? And that didn't really exist. Maybe you got something delivered to your door. I think like the first thing they remember, used to get like the 12 CDs for a penny, and you keep sending you like a CD every month, like Columbia House. That's what it was called. So like those types of things, like that was a real introduction. But like think about this generation; they've had this for as long as they've been alive. It's just normal. It's just it's not foreign. Whereas I think for maybe we're a little bit kind of in the middle, but definitely for some of those older demographics, it's kind of still a foreign concept.
And what's funny is using a lot of these kind of subscription services or subscription products, if you're doing an entire lifetime value, look at it, it's usually at a premium, right? It's usually at a premium, but given that you're spreading out those payments, you're much more apt, and it does skew younger, right? It's an interesting comment. And to that point, they are less price sensitive in certain instances, right?
Yeah, I think it's like the total cost of ownership, they're less price sensitive, but it's like broken out over small chunks. Like I think about like Peloton, right? How many people have like a Peloton at home? And, I know it's across a lot of generations, but like you can buy an exercise bike for your house for like pennies on the dollar. But the Peloton, like you have to pay a monthly fee for the subscription. They rent the bike to you now, and you pay every month to have that bike in your house. Like that's, yeah, it might seem cheaper, right? And they think they're less price sensitive, and that's what they go for. But like over the lifespan of 10, 50 years, like that's going to end up costing way more.
100%. I think another area that we see that younger kind of segments are willing to pay more are for customization, right? As you customize services or offers to them. And this is, we're seeing this as well from a B2B aspect. If there's some customization elements that can be within that, you can drive some pricing power.
Well, it's really interesting because it makes me think of like leaders of companies, right? Like, so Gen X is, or Gen Z, sorry, would be what, like 13 to like
28, I think.
Okay, so like most of these people aren't senior leaders in companies just yet, right? But give it 20 years.
Well, maybe with some of these AI startups.
Maybe. But like give it 20 years.
Yeah.
In theory, these people are going to be more executive roles, higher power roles. Like if you're from a B2B standpoint, like how are those preferences from when they grew up, how they kind of view price sensitivity? Like it's going to have a drastic change in how businesses do business with other businesses.
For sure. Like, I mean, in terms of what their needs are going to be, how they're going to look for pricing to be structured, how they want optionality on things, customization, it will be just a base level requirement. It won't be a question of whether you have it or not. It's just going to be there, and it's going to be table stakes.
Yeah. And it's the total cost of ownership is going to be less important than maybe the price of a transaction or whatever that customized piece that you're paying every single month. It makes me think like I saw a study, this is a couple months ago, and it was talking about the same thing, but it was talking about, the generational shift in travel habits. And I think what was interesting, it was talking about like the Gen Zs, that they really go for like the low fare, like when they're on the plane, like like the standard one now that like you can't even have a bag or whatever, and like you check whatever. So when it comes to like, hey, they take a trip or something, they go for the cheapest option, but they take way more trips. So if you look at like if you look at the spend over the year of someone like that, it's, yeah, they're more price sensitive like on an individual transaction basis, yes. But over the whole course of, let's say, a year or a couple of years, they're taking more trips because they value those experiences, and they're less price sensitive because a bigger share of their wallet is going towards these types of things.
And I bet you when they get to the destination, they're probably expending more on certain types of goods or experiences versus, like how we would be as a traveler too. I can definitely see that. It's interesting. Today's discussions kind of got me focused on how much we're aging and whether
I know it feels like we're just like two old guys complaining about like young people. I feel like we need to like get like a cane and whack the table or something.
But I think the key takeaway from today as I'm reflecting is two things. One, really reflecting, given the shifting demographic, what those needs are and how you'll need to kind of evolve into that. And this, total cost of ownership versus short-term out of pockets and fitting into budgets, like it's going to become bigger and more important, and how to think about that.
I think the key is thinking about that shift, and like if you're in like a B2C, type business environment, that shift's coming way sooner.
That's true.
These people are buying today. I think in a B2B context, especially like more kind of corporate enterprise B2B, you still got a couple years. But obviously those are harder ships to turn, right?
Yep. So the two old guys kind of arguing on the grass here. Another great episode. We'll look forward to your requests going forward.
See you next time, guys.